All right, so we've just finished what, like 4 hours of trying to break into group 4 hours? Like 2 hours. Okay, maybe only 2.5. It was several hours.
That would be 6. I'll get back there.
Yeah. Do we want to start by going around the room and people at least giving like a short summary if they found anything interesting and how they found the experience? Like the key question, one of the key questions I want answered here is a process like this tractable? Is it reasonable to expect people to be able to at least file spec bugs? File people like us, right? Like average browser engineers without context and specific apps necessarily, file reasonable spec bugs, figure out if something should be an implementation bug or not, maybe search or update web platform tests. That's one of the questions that I'm trying to get an answer to.
And how many of these led to something tractable, where a lot of them end up with like, oh, it's just burned in different ways in different browsers, or most of them, something we actually could have made, we can make lots of progress.
I'll start, I guess, since I'm already talking. I spent almost the whole time, I mean, the first thing I did was just find a bug for the one that Mike mentioned about whatever the property was, I forget. Line, what is it?
Line clamp.
Yeah, quick line clamp, right? That being a big compat problem, right? I found a bug from 2013 where we said we should try to remove it. It doesn't have that much usage. And then people were like, oh crap, actually it seems to be used a lot. We can't remove it. And then I checked our most recent usage. It's got way more usage now. In fact, on Android, it's used like on a full, like 1/6 of every page viewed on Android uses it. So that doesn't mean it's impossible. Sometimes that means it's like Facebook and like Gmail or something, but it's probably not likely we're going to be able to remove it. If it's a compat source of compat pain for you, it probably means it's part of the webcam, which means we got to specify it. So I found that old bug where people said, oh crap, we can't remove it. Okay, won't fix. We really should standardize this. And Tab Atkins, CSS guru, was like, yes, I'd be happy to help standardize this. And it just dropped there, right? So that was a failure of process. I reopened the bug, retitled it, standardized WebKit line clamp. I added some up-to-date data about the usage, and I linked to some, I found the bug that Carl had filed on WebCompat, on the compat spec, and I found the bug that there was an existing discussion in the CSS spec. So I tried to link to all that, tried to find someone on the layout team, prodded some people and tried to say, is there someone on the Chrome layout team that can help like get this specified somehow? And there's a whole, like it's complicated because it's based on Flexbox and we don't want to specify all of the old Flexbox, but maybe we can come up with some simplification that we could specify and then implement that so we web compatible. So we'll see. That's hard work. I don't know, but I tried to make it clear that this was one of the top priority. And the more data you can add there, but like what sites are impacted, that's what I didn't have for that one. If you can come up with a set of sites.
Yeah, we have lists.
Good. Then that would help motivate sure. And then the other issue, I spent probably well over an hour, I think, just trying to debug this issue where on Google search, when you say start a timer, you get this input field where you can type in a time value, and that the backspace on Android wasn't working there. And eventually, I think really the ultimate root cause there is Firefox is sometimes at least sending a key press event for backspace. If you read the spec, it says key press events are only supposed to be for printable characters. And I think the interpretation is printable doesn't include backspace. I think it says it has a Unicode character value, right? And Chrome never fires key press for backspace. The behavior I was seeing in Firefox is kind of weird though. I was having some trouble debugging. Desktop and mobile were behaving differently. It looks like if the input field is empty, it fires the key press, but if it's not empty, it doesn't, something like that. Anyway, so I hadn't fully understood the Firefox behavior, but I'm pretty sure now that's the fundamental cause, and I'll file a Firefox bug. So I think that's it for me. You guys are working together 3, right? You guys want to go next?
Sure. So we were looking.
Oh, sorry. Let me just, since I want everyone to summarize their conclusions, my conclusion was, like, I think that'll prove to be useful, at least in both those cases. Maybe we'll end up changing browsers to make things better, but it was sure a lot of work. You know, and I consider myself reasonably good at doing that sort of bugging. I also had the benefit of the unminified Google search code, and it still took me quite a while to step through all the stuff. So, no doubt, it's hard.
So we were looking at a bug where we have an input element with some text and some padding, such that the padding is so much that the text would have to be cut off to have that much padding. Firefox does include that padding and cuts off the text, whereas Chrome ignores the padding and draws the text on top of the padding. We filed a compat bug. We found some spec text that seemed relevant and filed a spec bug. We actually got responses from dbern and BZ already, pointing out places in where Chrome's behavior might not be possible to spec in CSS. And so at least we got that far. We tried running a web platform test, and then ran into some info problems running a web platform test. And so maybe one lesson from that is it should be easier to run web platform tests than it is right now.
And specifically, it was a ref test, right?
It was a ref test.
Okay.
She was running around.
Yeah, I haven't run any ref tests myself yet. Like the simple JS tests, I found to be pretty simple.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, there's some issue running ref tests, which we don't know.
Yeah.
And anything else to add?
I think that's it. That was a good summary. So is it tractable? Is this a good workflow?
I mean, we got responses from people about the spec. It seems like at least there's some progress maybe towards.
you guys were working on it. Like that's probably a really long-standing issue. These things about like,
Yeah, it's so funny because it's so small, but it is so big.
yeah.
So it's,
I mean, that's the kind of issue that I can imagine. There's lots of incompatibility around this thing that we've always just said, oh, that's implementation defined. Exactly how the input fields look are implementation defined.
it's not that bad. Web developers are like learning to just sort of deal with like
Yeah.
looking at this.
But it's like that's the one I can imagine. It's worth someone spending like a week to like really push this through, or maybe several weeks.
I guess the only thing that came up was when we had trouble with running the ref test. Both of you were like, "Oh yeah, we don't really use this. We have our own runner," and so that there's a disconnect there that we could probably do some work to make this better, so that there's like a less of a gap between your workflow. That must make it hard to contribute to this if you don't know how. Like also the ref test API is kind of a little bit odd.
There's definitely some places to be improved in WPT. So we can probably improve the documentation regarding like how to actually run and write the ref test. So it's relatively easy to do like something else, say like using test targets.js. Then the ref test part is a little bit unclear from the docs. And in the actual run, we're going to some still unsolved projects now, like we're trying to figure out. And I think the workflow is pretty trackable, at least up until like finding a bug, finding like either against say compat or the specs. What is gonna happen afterwards is, I think it's pretty much like up to the actual experts, and they have to debate on like whether this is something we can put into the spec. Because in this particular case, it's actually it's actually like the way different browsers deal with the fail case. So so in this case, we essentially have like incorrect grammar in CSS. We have like too larger a padding for the input element, and different browsers deal with this failing case differently.
Yeah, and those are always going to be hard. Like I don't think we're not going to solve the problem that changing the web consistently requires like consensus between the experts who define this stuff. But at least like we should be able to prioritize those issues, right? And this is probably one of these ones that's higher priority, but it's kind of no one's ever gotten around to it. It keeps falling through the cracks. Legit?
Sure. So I picked up a bug which was kind of in a document which was about a scroll into view method having a different behavior when you pass in like a null or an empty object. So my first step was like, okay, let's look at it to see if there's any tests in the platform test. And great, I found the test. And it's actually a test that one of our engineers contributed a couple of months back. We started implementing this in Chrome. So we ended up writing the platform test for it. Okay, look, I started looking at the result of the test on WPT FYI. Sure, Chrome is passing, everybody else is failing. Okay, great. So let's see why it's failing. So I open the test in Chrome, and I see locally it's failing in Chrome too. So it turns out the test is not actually that great because it assumes a certain window size. So it's kind of flaky. So I sat down and started kind of cleaning up tests. The other problem that the test has was it has multiple test cases, but under a single test. So any of them failing, you would see everything failing. So I kind of separated them all so that I can see. So I wrote a new test, kind of improved the test. So that worked great. I talked to Drew to figure out how we can make sure that when I see a WTT FYI result, I can exactly get that locally as well. For example, maybe it can give me a command that I can run that reproduce the exact same result. Okay. So I ended up reproducing this on Firefox, and I just started a bot. Turns out, I think the difference is the way that the IDL that Firefox is using is different than the spec. So it means that the binding parses this differently. So I think it's an easy thing to fix. So I'm gonna start finding a bug against Edge and Safari as well.
So I was largely just chatting with folks and listening to what was and wasn't working. So I didn't actually dig into any things.
Yeah, I talked to Drew with metrics. We were chatting, and yeah, how we can work better together on predictability. If we should name our team predictability or not, and how we track metrics in the future, especially for like rolling out interventions and other things, like not relying on the ports, but what other things can we track to measure code breakage, user frustration, or in respect. So,
and I guess on that. We also talked about chatting more at TPAC about trying to align at least on specifically like what interop infrastructure and metrics we want to try and track, and if we can share data or efforts across that.
Right, and I'm sharing data. I want to work with the MDN team to get data of the end traffic, which people go to that might be not on all browsers yet, to help prioritize it as an open source data. We can help create.
Yeah, I've never thought of mining MDN usage.
Yeah.
Cool. Vlad?
Yeah, so we looked at a couple issues here in this corner. Let's see, my name here in the doc. So some bugs were like kind of Google related, especially the my account subdomain. So with those, we didn't not much success because it's so different. The UI, like the bugs from 3 months ago, now some of the buttons don't exist anymore, so we can see that. But also, yeah, different user agents, different browsers, so just hard to debug. So conclusion with that, we need to make that easier somehow. Just kind of better tooling there, just to see, be able to like, see it in Chrome, see it in Android tablet, Firefox, and just try to see what's going on there. Just a lot of time just spent browsing around. What else here? Google Flights, we looked into that issue, and I think we got some pointers there that we can hopefully fix some of the issues there with some of the modal dialogues. Some confirmed bugs that are like Firefox bugs, so we should just fix them, which is good. And also prototype this tool, bug reporter, and it might be showing. So I think one issue we had, for instance, in Google search, you're saying there's some polyfills or basically developers have user agents sniffing in their code, or they have like browser bugs in their code, and they don't have time to either file them or just report them. But I think, as Mike was saying earlier in the day, there's always like a comment like, oh, Firefox has this issue, and fix this later or something like that. So instead of writing that or writing swear words in the code, we can, is it happening? There we go. No.
Sorry, start
Application, GitHub.
share.
There you go.
You can do
There you go.
it.
So instead of writing like swear words in your code, you can use like maybe some kind of a common syntax which can be picked up by tools like ESLint. So like ESLint is now kind of the tool to use to just clean JavaScript and so on.
That's smart. Good.
So like we use it in Firefox actually. So you can say like web compat, you can say Opera 155, Chrome for Android 190. There's a web compat issue, and that's where it's filed or something. And you put that in your code, and then you have your code where it's like sniffing something. It says return null for VR displays or something like that. So just put down it.
I did. Yeah, it's not updating.
So then it looks nice and clean, no swear words. There we go.
Try resizing your window. I know it sounds crazy. There's a bug.
No, use the same system.
Yeah.
There you go. Oh,
Yeah.
scroll up a bit before that. Your reveal is the final.
Amazing.
No, reset again. Reset.
Scroll up.
There you go.
Yeah, that's good.
Reset again.
Reset again. So then, again.
I filed some. It's amazing because we're just like we're working on the web app.
It's not gonna rain.
Keep focusing,
It's so
focusing.
funny.
No, it's great. It's like,
So okay, so there's a template for that comment. So you can say like browser Firefox 60, Chrome 60 or something like that, and that gets reported. So in your synth log, you say, okay, warning, you have in your code there's to do or something. There's a bug, Chrome bug. And that gets sent to some systems. In this case, I use Sentry. You can say I have 2 bugs here. One was reported 5 times. There's a Chrome bug, and there's once it was reported a Mozilla bug. So from here, we can kind of see this active code bases where people keep working on them, and they still have this thing, and they really want it. Like they have this user agent sniffing conditional there. So that can kind of signal like this. That's working to be able to by maybe it could be public, maybe just browser vendors, and seeing that some Chrome bug really needs attention.
So each of the events is like some code base that is pointing to that bug or has a chapter on that bug.
So the benefit to the web developer would be that when Chrome goes and fixes the bug, when they run, they will see that, hey, I can now remove this.
Pretty much, yeah. So it's, the message could change. So instead of like warning, the way this thing works, I guess, like warning, like pending bug here still, or like warning, bug was fixed, go update your code. What else is here?
that's pretty cool. Like, you can also mention a benefit for implementers.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, it's like a
You'll see the
signal
real
that
world.
like an actively maintained code base is,
Waiting for you.
yeah, saying we're running into this bug.
And 2 other suggestions, I guess. So if there is no bug that you couldn't find one, you'll go file one and then you'll put it in your code base. And also, I think Harold was saying like Stack Overflow, like people can't find things on Mozilla, but they do find the Stack Overflow. Then maybe you link Stack Overflow there, and then we'll see that Firefox engineers can go and see, okay, this Stack Overflow question is getting a lot of traffic. What is the bug? What's the Mozilla bug for this? And then fix it, and maybe somehow signal back that this is not fine.
I wonder if you could crawl just generally Stack Overflow whenever a bug is referenced, like add that as another event here, like another time people have been talking about this bug.
Cool. That's it for you.
Yeah, I did the scrolling.
Yeah.
And the window resizing. Yeah.
Oh yeah, so at the bottom there's also the details are that this issue is in like Firefox 65 and 60. Sorry, yeah, Firefox 55 and Chrome 60. This solution.
Cool. So I talked with a few people and kind of the link to the gist is in the notes that we were doing from. So I don't know his name. He was tall and he was sitting here. Dave Tapuska. Yeah. So we were looking at an issue where some missing checkmarks when selecting options, and it turned out it was a so this was like a familiar issue, a known issue where Firefox, if you have a data URI, which is an SVG document, if that has a hash character in there, or octothorpe, a pound, I don't know what the Canadian word is. Hash, yeah.
The number sign.
Then Firefox won't render that because the SVG spec says treat it as some kind of reference to some other document or something. And so we just stop parsing. Whereas Blink and I think Edge and IE are more lenient there and will show the image. So
I looked into that exact issue. I think Tom reported it to me from the search side.
Yeah.
About hashes and so hopefully you found some of the bugs I filed for that.
maybe. We found we found a discussion from 2011. And so that's kind of where I think Derek kind of went off and put his head down to look. Was it Derek? Dan? Dave? Dave. Dave. He kind of went off and was doing some research into that. The solution, like the workaround, is just like URL encode your SVGs. But I don't know. That feels kind of crappy.
The place where it's usable is to do MVC, and Edge try to something patches it as well. All the CSS that's really broken in every other browser encode.
So I don't know if it's the same issue. The one that I found, I'll paste the link into the notes, but the one that, oh, sorry, yours was about hash in the data URL?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, mine was about spaces in data URLs. Okay. Never mind.
Yeah.
I think
Mine
this is something that you can actually get an accurate number using like HTTP archive. Like you should be able to find how much people are using that, and then decide whether this is something we should just standardize on.
Just fix it. Just like make the parser more lenient.
At least when I was looking through all the data URL stuff, I was happy to find that like Anna had been pretty diligent about URL parsing, and in particular defining all the failure modes. Like this URL, the fetch spec, I think it's like here's exactly how you parse URLs. If you get here, it's an error. It's an invalid URL, but here's what you need to do anyway.
Yeah. So
like the space case that's invalid, but it's precisely defined. In that case, there was a web platform test for it, and Firefox was failing the test.
Here's how you recover. So we looked at that together briefly. Kind of helped Vlad and Danielle poke at some things. The one thing I was trying to do, make progress on my the window event. So I have an open PR against the DOM spec to add window.event, window.source_element, window.returnValue.
Event, you mean?
Sorry,
event.source_element.
Yes, event source element and
Right.
return value to the DOM spec. These are IE-isms that WebKit inherited from KHTML and Blink inherited, and so we're just going to add them. But I spent most of my time fixing a merge conflict. My PR was a couple months stale, but I got that fixed, which is great, so I can make progress. And I got started on the window event web platform test, but nothing committed, so something to keep hacking on this week.
Just out of curiosity, those like you see those as fairly common.
Yeah, that's like the window event. So source element and return value. Source element pops up here and there. There's a few. Return value, I don't know of anything that's ever busted, but Anna said like let's just,
so trivial.
Let's just add it, exactly. Yeah. It's like,
and we've had a few other cases in DOM where something's been odd, but we've been able to simplify the definition, right? Like I think there was the like cancel bubbling. There's a few properties like that where we're like, well, let's just define it as an alias of this thing that already exists, and that's web compatible.
And window event is pretty simple, but then I hadn't considered shadow DOM, and so you can actually get the DOM tree, the shadow DOM to leak using window event, and so we have to special case that, so. But yeah, the window.event stuff is pretty common, especially on mobile.
So I did some digging into this stuff. I'm new to the Chrome team in general, so this was also like a good opportunity for me to like learn how like the basic like debugging tools and like stuff. Worked a bit with Adam and Mark on misaligned speaker sign when we define stuff when it shows up. I'm not sure. I think Mark started working on something. I'm not sure how far Mark got on that.
I think he's
getting us way
yeah.
Okay. And then after that, with Adam on, there was a search result of this embedded Forbes article. So then we're like, and there was an email icon for a share that wasn't rendering properly. So like one question there is it Forbes? Is it Google? Is it Firefox?
This was the kind of thing you look at, right? This email icon? This was the.
No, I actually don't put the speaker icon.
Okay. Was this a data URL with a space in it?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it actually was something somebody else noted that there's a space. So we put that as invalid. Found something else that could link to their issue similar. So like made a comment that it's probably the same thing. And then we just looked at something where when you type in convert millimeters to inches, and it has that like embedded thing in the search bar. But on Firefox, on mobile, there's a check mark and the thing. It's rendering 2 buttons.
Like the up and down arrows.
Yeah.
It's being covered by.
And that was WebKit appearance.
Yeah.
That. But overall, yeah, the process was good. I think that I'm not sure how this would do, but like it's there's so much like overhead for a very simple thing, and I'm not completely sure like how we could fix that other than like just being knowledgeable about like emulation or like getting this stuff up. But that's one thing is like as much as I think it's like and like things like this are very tractable, I'm not too sure about scale in that sense. Like
maybe instead of trying to really distribute this kind of effort, maybe we should have more like compat SWAT teams. You know, like Chrome team does not have a compat team at all, right? I mean, at the very least, we could have, just like we have perf hackathons and stuff. Maybe we should be having a set of us to do this kind of thing more regularly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you basically covered it. So.
Yeah. So yeah, we looked at that as bigger icon thingy, which looks simple, but it turns out it is fund rendering related, so not simple at all. Basically, it boils down by Google relying on line height normal, which is nowhere exactly defined, and Firefox is simply using a different normal line height than Chrome.
The spec says you can vary by UAs.
The other normal.
And this specification says, yeah, it's the user agent's decision, so technically everything is okay. And yeah, that's basically it. I forget.
So even in those cases, like I know not everyone would agree, but I would love
Yeah.
to at least file a Chromebook for those and say the spec says this is implementation defined,
Yeah.
but really couldn't we try to agree between implementations?
Now here's the kicker. When we were diagnosing this, we didn't realize the problem is that the site's using vertical line middle. And even I had forgotten that's not based on the parent box, that's based on the X height of the font. So line height affects it, the font affects it, and I realized that at first as soon as we read that, the font the Firefox was using was different. We're never gonna deal with that. It's too much of a problem to figure out. Line height we could probably do. Chrome in the dev tools doesn't actually tell you what precise line height it settles on for now. It just says normal. And the same with getting computed styles. So it would help at the very least to know that. So I could file at least a bug on that. Agreeing on what normal is, it might not be worth it unless we get buy-in from everybody. That's the problem. And since the X height can vary on other factors too, it's not necessarily going to solve the vertical line middle fiasco. It's just we're going to have to wait for Flexbox to be usable by everybody, I guess.
And it's actually not just agreeing on a simple line at normal value, because in
Firefox, you have the option to increase the default font size, which also affects normal line height. So there's much more to it than just agreeing on one value. So that gets dirty very quickly. Yeah.
So I was thinking and talking to Harold some about the problem of performance causing interrupt issues, and trying to figure out like what's the first step to tackling that problem. And one logical first step is just targeting a specific issue, which is animations being asynchronous with respect to JavaScript or synchronous with respect to JavaScript. And the first step would just be making a page which says like pass or fail for each property. And so I started working on a page, and I got something that works in Chrome. Basically what I do is the first frame of an animation for each element, it says fail. And then the second frame, it says pass. And after the first frame, I jank for a long time, which is terrible, but it works in Chrome.
And you just wanted this as a test page to test?
Yeah, the idea is you load this and it just says pass fail for each property, whether or not it's animated asynchronously. And you could imagine running this through browser stack, and maybe the screenshotting would work with this hack. I'm not entirely sure. In any case, we're trying in Chrome, and then I tried in Firefox, and the problem is that our scheduling of animations appears to differ slightly. So I'm often showing the second frame of the animation in Firefox. And so Owen has written some blog posts about this issue. I think Drew commented on the Chrome blog fairly recently.
Yeah.
It seems like it's confusing.
Is this like double wrap thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I didn't find anyone tracking that outside of the Chrome bug, so I did file a web compat issue. I also tried it in Servo, and it does pass for properties that Chrome does not pass for in Servo. Cool. So that's neat. I think probably just with some like additional hideous hackery, I can construct something that works in Firefox as well.
I think ultimately Chrome's behavior is, if I remember that bug correctly, is the correctly spec'd version of it, where it's something to do with when we post the animation. If you post like another function within it, I think we were right. So maybe then a bug in Firefox's current implementation. It sounds like Servo fixed it.
Yeah.
So it might be fixed when styling and desktop Firefox.
Also, Hub Renderer will continue to animate. So the animation is set in CSS as well. Just
So it's not the CSS, it's the actual render recognition.
Can anything that help?
No, it's interesting. You mean, yeah, the pass fail visual is interesting. Probably good. I thought I could simplify, just animate something, and if this animates, we're not passing. But the pass fail is an interesting target to reach. Like you want to see the words appear. So, yeah. But I think it's a good resource too, because we looked at the CSS trigger page that Paul Lewis created, and he has automated tests for Chrome because he used WebDriver plus the performance.
He looks at the Chrome trace and pulls out.
So
Right.
Edge is working on the same. Firefox has got going to expose performance details as well. So eventually we might be able to automate it for more browsers. But this is a good way to have like a standalone page to just test out.
Also, if I remember correctly, someone had proposed an idea of like a feature detection style thing for CSS, where you could say like, only run if this will composite, or like if this will be an accelerated, and then as browsers change what is and isn't an accelerated property, you could sort of.
The folks working on compositor worker or animation work, et cetera, are pretty big on that idea. You want to be able to guarantee that you're running off the main thread.
And they've talked at great length with Brian Bertels and Dave DeBaron and some of the Servo folks, and there's a lot of concern about like the things we could do that could lead to pages that won't work in Servo. So it can do things that no other browser can do. And so they've talked us down, like we wanted to have APIs that would say fail if this can't be fast. And they were like they were opposed to that. They at least want the default to be run slow in Chrome and run fast in Servo by default. And maybe it's okay to have some additional API that you can opt in to saying if you can't run fast, don't run at all.
So it's kind of the will change, but it's must change.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Viton?
Yeah, so I went through Search's code base looking for comments, precisely what you guys were talking about, where people were like, screw Firefox, screw iOS, screw Opera, like basically just screw the world. I found some of mine, it's great. It's positive. And I went through the process of seeing whether one could be removed and determined that this process is like really lengthy and probably not something that an average person is going to do. It turns out running like an arbitrary Firefox on a corp machine is sort of difficult because we have permissions issues about things that can automatically install things on your machine. Makes sense. So making this automated is probably something that we want to look into, but it's difficult because we want something that's running an external Firefox, but then also can talk to an internal GWIS that I myself start up. Starting up an internal GWIS is sometimes a slow process. So it's just a lengthy process is what I concluded. And I did not determine whether or not I can remove it. It's definitely fixed in head. So I don't see the bug anymore in head when I turn it off, but I don't know at what point it was fixed. So that's what I mean.
Is the fundamental problem here that there's a workaround in some complex scenario, you don't necessarily have a minified repro for it, right? It's like in search, we have to do this. You know, you can reproduce the problem only in search. It's not like you have a standalone test that you could run outside of search.
Exactly. Like I've seen someone filed a bug for this, right? Like we see this behavior in the UI for this case, and the fix is to if Firefox remove set overflow, whatever. And so that's fine, but it's hard to walk back from like here's a bug with this UI to here's a web compat test that should be testing this. Yeah. But really, ideally, like instead of being in this world where I have future developer or I, a developer 3 years down the road, has to go do this detective work, someone should in the comment link to a compatibility test that like a browser is failing. Like that's the ideal. That's what you guys were suggesting. And I think people just don't know to do that. I think that's a cultural shift.
It's just a lot of work.
It is a lot of work, yeah.
We've got some guidelines out there about how to reduce, but this is what I spent like an hour or something today doing. I could reproduce the problem that the QA tester found.
Right.
And even like sitting here with the debugger for like hours trying to come up with a reduced test case was really hard.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think this is like, this leads me to believe that maybe some of this is just going to be out of scope sort of permanently, and maybe mitigating strategies are worth thinking about rather than like a ideal fix. Because there must be some way to do, like, if you have an algorithm, you can't solve it, maybe it's NP hard or something, like make an approximation algorithm. So what would be the approximation algorithm solution to this is a hard problem?
And we have an approximation algorithm that like, we have been fixing these class of bugs across the community for a while. We're just trying to see, can we do something to accelerate the rate of that fix? I mean, they're slow to fix. They don't always get prioritized well. Sometimes we fix the unimportant ones instead of the important ones. But like, it's not like we don't know how to do it. It does happen. I've been on, I don't know, dozens of bugs. Philip Jagerstadt's probably fixed hundreds of these over the years. They're just time consuming and it's not very reliable.
I think you're probably correct on it being more of a, I don't know the word is used, political thing, cultural thing, where it would be diligence on both ends. If you guys run into a glitch like this, not just comment your code, but file a bug. And when we fix it, we can notify you in turn and say it'll be fixed as a Firefox 7, who knows. And then you guys will actually have a notification and test it, figure out when you can remove it.
The other thing I'm thinking about here is like if it's been sufficiently long fixed in Firefox, I can just pick a good version like 2 years ago, which is better than not picking a version at all. So like maybe bisecting isn't so useful use of time if like the majority of Firefox users are within the last 2 years, then it's probably fine to just say, cool, after this version, let's not do this anymore.
Yeah, if you know your user base well enough to know the version of Firefox.
And we certainly have that data.
Yeah, then it's probably a lot more efficient just based on that.
Right.
I also was mentioning that it'd be cool to hook up the linting thing to web platform tests, where then you get a warning if you're, because you're gating, you're saying I gate on this browser and say, oh, that browser now passes this test. But you could also then imagine in the web platform test dashboard starting to show, like here's the number of people who are referencing this test as breaking, or they're like working around it. And then the cool thing about that is it's also one centralized place, so everyone can kind of go with that.
That's a good idea. Have a inform me when type of email or other service.
You
walk down
just
this
start
floor.
getting an error in your CI when.
Your site doesn't build until you.
Right. Yeah, so you fix it.
Nobody's gonna let you do that. But that's cool. I think it's cool.
A warning.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else to add, Tom? I know you said you had much stuff.
Well, that's, you're talking to me.
Yes.
Yeah.
We should have sat next to each other.
Yeah, that's
That's maybe the
That's
bug.
not fun. No, what I already said is what I already said. We can chat about it, whatever.
Yeah.
This is the end of it, so.
So in terms of next steps, I think, Mike, we had talked about at least like you, me, and Philip maybe having a monthly sync, and I think David Burns wants to be in on that. I don't know if there's other people like to at least like go through your top list and make sure that like we're pushing you forward. Right? Like there's a huge set here, but you know, Philip and I at least have time to help drive like the ones that are your biggest pain points about it. So I think we agree we should do that. Right, so let's set that up, and we'll
Maybe
send.
also add to that if there's like search is a big focus on, we could, if there's any big issues we hear about, we can search them the other way as well. So like this is a big one.
Yeah, I'm sure if there's a few issues that we're working on that are search specific, you know, we could ask Tom if he'd be willing to join us one day or something for one of those meetings.
Sure,
You know, and I can also file bugs and like be a conduit as we.
Yeah, just because I'm the only engineer from Search here does not mean that there's not a lot of us, right? Like, I'm just one of many. I don't speak for the whole Search org, and there's lots of us that you can contact on Search UI and also in general.
So go both ways too. If you guys have any reason to try and to go through Rick, or you can just join it. Be a fly on the wall, it's probably could be private investigation.
Yeah, we'll send. I think we'll probably get a point of
Supposed to-
sending out like meeting notes or something. I was watching your mailing list where you have like your meeting notes after every meeting.
Also, if Tom was the only search engineer, the most highly leveraged engineer.
Yeah, I wrote all of Search myself, no big.
They look like you're in great shape for that.
Do you have a lot of users?
We have a lot of users. You know, it's